Hey guys, before you watch this video, click on the link below. My Breath is Life meditation course is on sale right now at 50%, and I'll see you after the video. Okay guys, Troy Casey, certified health nut, super psycho chicken of cyberspace. I'm here with my good friend Nikki, the nutritionist. We're in Sedona, Arizona. Look, there is the Chapel of the Holy Cross. That actually has another name. This peak right here, not the chemtrail, but the peak has another name. I forget what it is. Nikki's taking off her shoes, which is making me take off my shoes. Today, we're going to talk about sugar addiction and how to break sugar addiction. And so we'll give you the top 10 or the top 5 reasons or the top 10 tips to get off sugar. Okay, so Troy Casey, certified health nut. Chapter 1 of my book is legacy. Awareness is the very first step. What do you want? Go out and figure, write your eulogy. Become the author of your own life, the authority of your own life. What do I want and why do I want it? Get very clear on that, because that is your true north. That is your roadmap. If you're going to San Francisco from Sedona, Arizona, if you start driving towards New Mexico, you might get to San Francisco eventually, but it's not the most efficient way to do it. So awareness is the first step. If you have a big dream, I'm here to change the world, get the world healthy. And so I don't have, much time for addictions that may slow me down and cost me my own health and well-being to go out and complete my dream. And so awareness is the first step. I'm eating too much sugar. It makes me feel like crap. I have a sugar hangover. So look in the mirror. Now, Nikki, her specialty is going to talk about all the biochemical pathways and stuff like that. So Nikki, how would you attack the sugar addiction, right? What is some of the awareness that we need? Like, give the people practical tips that is going to help them.
I would say when it comes to sugar addiction, the first thing that comes to my mind is the protein leverage hypothesis, which states that essentially the idea or theory is that the body will crave food until its amino acid reservoir is filled. And so because carbohydrates or plant foods tend to be less concentrated in amino acids, if the majority of your diet is carbohydrate-based plant foods, you'll just crave more and more carbohydrates until you meet your amino acid reservoir. So to me, it would just make sense to center your meals around healthy forms of fats and carbohydrates and lesser amounts of whole food carbohydrates that are not carbohydrate dense and are filled with a net of fiber to slow down their absorption into the bloodstream. That's kind of what I would do.
Okay. All right. Well, that sounds like some good scientific gobbledygook. The amino acid reservoirs. Okay, so now we'll play a little tennis match here. I'll go, you go, okay? And so I would also, for sugar addiction, what I would do is get off all commercial sugars, artificial sweeteners, flavors, etc., and go on fruit. And I'm the type of person, I really watch my blood sugar. So I like bananas. That's a little too much for me. Sometimes I'll have the dates, but only, every once in a while. I keep the sweet sugars down. I keep the sweet sugars super down. And so, but for you at home that's trying to get off sugar, I would definitely get off all commercial artificial sweeteners, sugar, cane sugar, high fructose corn syrup, all these other hidden types of sugars, and and then go natural. If you're going to use sweet, use fruit, natural fruit, and honey, raw honey in glass that has the enzymes. And then that way, if you have the sweet tooth, so again, my approach is get in that mirror, acknowledge where you're at, sugar's causing a problem. Maybe you've got skin issues, or you've got fat issues, or you are addicted to mainlining bonbons in front of Netflix shows forever. And so you recognize that you have a sugar problem. And then you start going through it and pulling the sugar out of your diet. And then on top of that, I'll go twice here, Nikki, while you come up with your next one. On top of that, I would do the ultimate lifestyle transformation because it breaks all addictions for human beings. So I've watched people get off of cigarettes, alcohol, and so you can break all addictions. And so, hey, good morning.
Good morning.
And so ultimate lifestyle transformation of fasting will help you with your blood sugar as well. There's just something very unique about fasting. Well, you take all the extra glycogen storages out of the body and you go into a state of ketosis within 2 to 3 days. On my cleanse, it probably take about 15 to 18 hours on a dry fast. And so fasting, get rid of all that blood sugar. And so you do the ultimate lifestyle transformation, and that's going to break your sugar addiction right there. It's going to break the actual addiction. And then you can transfer over to natural sugars and honey, possibly stevia or Lohan Go, if those things work out for your body. Remember, you got to test everything because people can be allergic or have an allergic reaction or a type of inflammatory response to any types of foods. So you have to test that. And so I'm actually going to go 3 right here. So then I'm going to say, bump up your movement. We're out there walking. Walking is an excellent way for the body to become efficient with the fibers inside the muscles to burn sugar efficiently. And so I would up your walking game. A client of mine had type 2 diabetes, and she did massive amounts of research. And so I think she said, like an hour-long walk, maybe you walk to work, that makes the body burn glycogen super efficiently, is the walking. So there's 3 tips from Certified Health Nut. Here, volley over to you.
So I would say one of the other things that can activate sugar cravings would be a stress response, like a release in cortisol. When your cortisol levels go high, it can bring your blood sugar levels down low, which would cause a craving in order to bring them back up to speed. So, things that help to balance cortisol levels and the stress response are, I think, really important. Like starting off with just getting a good night's sleep.
Yep.
And if you do have a cortisol response, it would make sense to go ahead and feed your body some natural sugars, like you were saying, like fruits. Berries are really low in sugar compared to other fruits that have enough to kind of help bring your blood sugar levels back into balance.
Well, berries, grapefruit, and green apples have the lowest glycemic index of any fruits. Okay, so go ahead, continue.
And I think your comment about ketosis was really spot on. I mean, I've noticed anytime I've been out of control with my carbohydrates, or maybe I'm exceeding them, or I'm under a lot of stress, I work to get myself into ketosis, and that brings my cravings under control. And I just do that by putting a little more emphasis on dietary fats in my meals and cutting down the carbs a bit. We all have our own personal carbohydrate tolerance. We just have to figure out what that is.
I have a low tolerance
Me
for
too.
carbohydrates, and my body loves fats. So consider bumping up your fat intake. Have some prime rib or some bacon and eggs and see where that takes you energetically. I also do want to mention, because you mentioned caffeine activates cortisol. Cortisol has a half-life of 6 hours. So if you're drinking caffeine and eating sugar, you could be on that yo-yo, caffeine sugar yo-yo. So keep your eye out for that, because that, your talk about caffeine and sugar activating, that can put people on a very addictive yo-yo. So watch that. Okay, what else? What else do they need to keep eye out for? Breaking sugar addiction. Nikki.
I'm just going to reiterate, I think when it comes to breaking sugar addiction, it just comes down to experimenting with different foods and how they affect your body, and just being aware of how you feel within an hour or two after you eat. And if the foods you are eating are not satisfying you and you're craving more food, then that's just a little signal to your body that you're not metabolizing that food you're eating very well. You need to change it up. And I think generally, due to the fact that our bodies are primarily made of fat and protein, that having an emphasis on fat and protein at your meals, with along with low carbohydrate vegetables, that would be a good way to get on track to breaking sugar addiction. But you do have to take your stress into account, because if you're stressed out and releasing cortisol, that's going to trigger cravings.
You can also get a stress response from inflammatory agents.
Yeah.
You can get a stress response from inflammatory agents. So if you're eating gluten, corn, soy, nuts, grains, seeds, any of these things, food coloring, artificial flavoring, artificial food, processed foods, these things can inflame the gut. If you have been inflamed for many years and you weren't conscious or cognizant of that, you could have ruptured your leaky gut syndrome and get undigested protein solids into the body. This goes on for long periods of time. You have excessive weight gain. Your gut is compromised. Then, of course, the microbes proliferate, fungus, mold, bacteria, parasites. And then you start feeding these critters, and these critters love sugar. And so you get into this big negative feedback loop, and then you got to solve that problem. So your gut gets compromised and blown out. You get overblown guts. Your gut is out of integrity, distended stomach. And so this is where the fasting comes back in. You lock that up. You stop feeding those critters. So those critters need moisture and they need sugar to survive, fungus and parasites. And so stop feeding the fungus. Again, that's where fasting comes in. You choke that off. You go into ketosis, you go into autophagy. So, of course, the Ultimate Lifestyle Transformation, click the link in the bio. There's information for that. My clients that go through that, my average client loses 25 pounds in the first month, in the first 30 days. And so break food addictions and then start out at a clean slate, and then start, especially paying attention to what Nikki does. She's a food nutritionist, right? She's not a gimmick person, right? She doesn't sell gimmicks. She starts getting you eating whole foods, right, Nikki?
Yeah.
whole foods and start satiating the body. The body's going to feel better, and then the body's going to automatically heal itself. So my approach is get into fasting, get into my program within 30 days. That's going to clear the slate, and then we can start working with the elimination diet on the cleanse, and then you start working with Nikki, because Nikki really knows her stuff.